In the heart, sleepy town, amid deserted streets and darkened trees, stood an old house forgotten by time. Locals referred to it as the House of Shadows, and the stories surrounding it were passed down through generations. It was said to be cursed, a portal to hell where demons and lost souls found refuge. Families moved into town with hopes of starting anew. Yet none lingered in the House of Shadows for long. Every new resident was swallowed by the darkness within its walls, their screams disappearing into the night. The townspeople looked upon the blackened silhouette of the house with dread, avoiding passing by it even in broad daylight. One day, the Anderson family, troubled by life's hardships, decided to move into the House of Shadows, either ignorant or dismissive of the warnings from the town's superstitious elders. Eddie and Mary, along with their 2 children, Rachel and Timmy, entered the house with reckless enthusiasm, convinced that the tales were mere fantasies spun by overly superstitious old folks. As soon as they crossed the threshold, a change in the atmosphere became palpable. The air seemed thick with a malevolent presence, and light struggled to penetrate through the windows, covered in dust and spider webs. In every corner of the house, shadows moved like wandering spirits. At night, strange sounds would awaken the Andersons. The creaking of doors, muffled footsteps on the wooden floors, and whispered voices echoed from the darkness. Nonetheless, the family attempted to keep their courage and ignore the obvious signs of an impending evil. With time, the children began to experience disturbing dreams and see sinister figures in the moving shadows on the walls. Rachel was the first to feel a cold touch on her back while brushing her teeth in the bathroom. Timmy saw the glowing eyes of a dark figure in the aged mirror of the living room. Eddie and Mary, confronted with supernatural manifestations, started to succumb to the pressure within the malevolent house. Their dreams were filled with gruesome images, and one night, Mary was awakened by a raspy voice whispering her name. The house was revealing its true nature, and the demons dwelling within its depths fed on the fears and weaknesses of the Anderson family. Bizarre rituals took place in the basement every night. And the shadows seemed to come alive. Nevertheless, the family tried to resist. Eddie, becoming increasingly obsessed with the mysteries of the house, delved into old books and dusty documents. As he uncovered dark secrets about the house's history, he grew more intrigued but also possessive of the malevolent dwelling. The townspeople, aware of the Andersons' reckless decision, watched in horror as their transformation unfolded. Each evening, the house changed its shape, its walls pulsating like the heart of a dormant monster, and the darkness oozing from its windows had a putrid smell. The Anderson family now faced their own ruin. Rachel and Timmy became pale and distant, their eyes reflecting a frightening understanding of the truth behind the shadow-filled house. Eddie, captivated by the power of the house, became increasingly possessive and alien to Mary, who felt ensnared in a malevolent web. One night, the shadows in the house came to life, responding to the call of the demons. Whispers turned into screams, and the entire house was engulfed in a dark vortex. Eddie, driven mad by the desire to control the malevolent forces, attempted to initiate an ancestral ritual, hoping to become the master of the darkness. Mary, aware that her family was on the brink of being consumed by their own obsession, made a desperate decision. In a moment of supreme courage, she tore an ancient book from Eddie's hands and shouted with a voice that shattered the silence of the demons. The ritual was interrupted, and the house shook in protest. In that moment, the entire family was thrown into a whirlwind of malevolent energy. In the deafening noise, the shadows of the demons emerged, screaming with fury. With one last effort, Mary and the children chanted words of exorcism, and the powerful light of a benevolent force began to permeate every corner of the house. In the aftermath, the house seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, and the demons and shadows vanished into nothingness. The Anderson family, weakened and affected, stepped out of the malevolent house into the light. The town, witness to the unusual events, snapped out of its shock, and the House of Shadows was left to crumble into oblivion. Mary and the children chose to rebuild their lives, but every night was accompanied by haunting dreams and memories of the darkness. The House of Shadows remained a scar in the town's memory, a warning that some places hide dark secrets, and the price of knowledge may be higher than anyone could imagine. In the forgotten outskirts of the quaint town of Ravenswood stood a house that time seemed to have abandoned. Locals referred to it as the Crimson Manor, and the tales surrounding it were whispered with a mix of dread and fascination. Rumor had it that the house was not just abandoned, but was a haven for demons who hungered for the souls of the living. The manor, with its faded red bricks and crooked windows, loomed like a spectral specter against the twilight sky. Its history was obscured by shadows, and the stories told in hushed tones spoke of families who moved in with hope and left in despair. No one dared to approach it after dark, and even during the day, the air around the Crimson Manor seemed to carry an otherworldly chill. The Ellison family, having recently inherited the property, decided to move into the manor, unaware of its ominous reputation. Jacob, a skeptical writer, believed the stories were mere superstitions. Sarah, an artist, saw the manor as a canvas for her creativity. Their daughter, Emily, with her innocent curiosity, was eager for the adventure. As the Ellisons crossed the threshold, an unsettling hush descended upon them. The creaking floorboards seemed to echo with a history untold. Sarah brushed it off as the normal sounds of an old house settling, but Jacob couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The first night brought peculiar dreams. Shadows danced on the walls, and strange whispers echoed through the hallways. Emily claimed to have seen a pair of glowing eyes staring at her from the closet, but her parents dismissed it as an overactive imagination. Soon, the manor revealed its true nature. Each room seemed to have a life of its own, as if the walls held memories of events long past. Jacob, attempting to document the history of the house, discovered cryptic symbols etched into the floorboards and hidden passages leading to forgotten chambers. As the days turned into nights, the atmosphere within the Crimson Manor grew increasingly oppressive. Flickering lights cast eerie shadows, and the temperature seemed to fluctuate without reason. Emily started talking to an invisible friend named Mr. Blackwood, claiming he was a kind old man who lived in the walls. Sarah, engrossed in her art, began painting disturbing scenes of demonic entities lurking in the corners of the rooms. Jacob, struggling to maintain his skepticism, found himself waking up in the middle of the night, sweat, soaked and disoriented, with the faint echoes of unsettling whispers in his ears. The family's relationship strained as the malevolent force within the Crimson Manor intensified. Arguments erupted over trivial matters, and the once close family found themselves drifting apart. The walls seemed to absorb their negative energy, feeding the insidious force that thrived on discord. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Emily claimed that Mr. Blackwood warned her of impending danger. The family gathered in the dimly lit living room, where a cold wind blew through unseen cracks, extinguishing candles and leaving them in near darkness. As the shadows deepened, the Crimson Manor revealed its true form. Grotesque figures materialized in the corners of the room, and guttural whispers transformed into demonic chants. The family, gripped by fear, witnessed the walls bleeding with an otherworldly substance. Desperation drove them to seek answers. Jacob delved into ancient tomes he found hidden in the attic, while Sarah consulted the enigmatic symbols she had painted. Emily, guided by Mr. Blackwood, muttered incantations that seemed to quell the demonic activity temporarily. The history of the Crimson Manor unfolded like a cursed tapestry. Long ago, a misguided occultist had conducted dark rituals within its walls, opening a gateway to the underworld. The demons, bound by the accursed pact, sought to claim the souls of those who dared to inhabit the house. As the Ellison family unraveled the secrets, the malevolent force fought back. Unseen hands grabbed at them in the dark, and whispers turned into deafening screams. The family teetered on the brink of madness as the Crimson Manor seemed to feed on their fears. One fateful night, as the demonic activity reached a crescendo, the family decided to confront the malevolent force head-on. Armed with newfound knowledge and a desperate resolve, they performed a counter ritual in an attempt to close the demonic gateway. The atmosphere within the Crimson Manor shifted, and the air grew heavy with tension. Unearthly howls echoed through the halls. But the family pressed on, their determination outweighing the malevolent force's attempts to subdue them. In a blinding burst of light, the ritual reached its climax. The demonic entities, tormented by the closing gateway, let out agonized wails as they were forced back into the abyss. The Crimson Manor shuddered, and the oppressive energy that had held it captive began to dissipate. As dawn broke, the Ellison family stood outside the Crimson Manor, watching as the once ominous structure crumbled into ruins. The storm had passed, and the air felt lighter. The demons were banished, and the house that had harbored their malevolence for centuries was reduced to a pile of rubble. The town of Ravenswood, unaware of the night's supernatural events, woke up to find the Crimson Manor gone, as if it had never existed. The Ellison family, forever changed by their harrowing ordeal, left the town behind, haunted by the memories of the malevolent force that once resided within the walls of the now vanished house. The legend of the Crimson Manor lived on in whispers, a cautionary tale told to new generations. Some believed it was a mere folktale, while others insisted that the demons still lurked in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to return. As for the Ellison family, they carried the scars of their encounter with the supernatural. The Crimson Manor, now a distant memory, became a chapter in their lives they struggled to forget. But the echoes of the demonic whispers and the chilling apparitions lingered, a reminder that some horrors never truly fade away.